Hey everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode. So today's video is going to be relatively interesting because there was an article that recently came out that I really wanted to share in today's video, talking a little bit about a brand new movement that's been going on because we've talked about so many other movements such as like quiet quitting, which basically is where you do the absolute bare minimum at your particular job and career path, hoping to potentially get fired. Therefore, you are quiet quitting everything that you're doing. But in today's video, there is interestingly a brand new movement that's now been floating around that came up again now called quiet thriving. So in today's video, what's really going to happen is that I really want to talk about this new movement called quiet thriving. I want to talk about what it is. I want to talk about the significance of it because it is actually a movement that actually is relatively positive. And not only is it a positive movement, but it's a movement that I think can help and benefit a lot of people in their particular career at this particular time. So with that being said, let's just get this video started right on the spot. But as always, if you guys enjoy videos like this, remember to smash the like button to share some support, or you can watch to the end and decide. Consider subscribing, hitting the bell for similar videos like this, and as always, feel free to leave a comment with any questions, thoughts about honestly anything. So with that said, let's just get right to this video. So quiet thriving is essentially a brand new movement that was recently just released in an article, and what it really is that it's a little bit of the opposite of quiet quitting, which is really awesome, because instead of trying to focus on the negative side of your job, what quiet thriving really does is it's trying to focus on the brighter side of different people's jobs, but even more specifically, especially of trying to improve people's careers, especially so that they can actually stay employed but work a better job. If this sounds relatively confusing, we're going to explain it in relatively detail, so definitely stay tuned and still watch out this watch through this video. But the big idea is that it's also focused a lot about trying to improve people's lives outside of their regular work life. How this particularly works is that essentially, instead of trying to look at the downside of your job and slowly quitting your job, it's a new movement that's encouraging people to find the brighter side to whatever they're currently doing in life. There are several examples and ways that you can do it. This article highlights it relatively well, but the first way is essentially you can look at it through a psychological basis. It looks to focus on the reasons that they took the job to begin with, because the reality is you might not necessarily like your job right now, but if you took the job in the very beginning, and hopefully it wasn't because you took it under pressure, then there was hopefully a reason why you took that particular job, and hopefully it was a very good reason. And because the reality is, for a lot of people at their jobs, not every job was always rough. There are many people that are working jobs that maybe in the very beginning things were actually relatively exciting, when everything was still fresh, when it was new, they were excited to start their careers. It was really just maybe later on that things started to become a lot more common, that things started to fall apart. So what quiet thriving is, it's to focus on the positive side by saying, well, maybe, your job wasn't so great right now, but maybe there's, something to be grateful for, because maybe there was a reason that was hopefully a positive reason why you even started and got into the job to begin with. Now, the next stage of quiet thriving is really focused about everything related to trying to focus on your life outside of work and really trying to find good work-life balance. This is something that actually is really interesting because it focuses a lot on trying to develop things such as like working on a passion project, creating side hustles. And what this really is that because there's a lot of people that want to pursue side jobs that maybe are really exciting, really fun, but they don't necessarily pay particularly well. I know this actually can relate very much to this because a lot of my early jobs were in the creative industry, and many of you guys may or may not know is that a lot of the jobs in the creative industry, such as like playing music, DJing, dancing, acting, theater, artwork, you can actually make a reasonable amount of money from them, but they don't really happen to be stable, and they don't happen to be very high paying for the most part, for most people at least, that pursue them. So what this really is focused on is to really try to find ways to maybe create a side hustle or side job or side or passion project of some kind to complement your particular job so that it makes it so your job is relatively enjoyable. So instead of looking at your job as something that's just, it's common, you don't want to do it or anything like that, you can see it as maybe a way to raise up money to fund a lot of your passion projects and side hustles to complement with it to make your job a lot more bearable. And then the third stage or side to quiet thriving is really going to be everything related. And this is something that I actually related very, very much to. And I talk a lot about this in one of the past videos, which I'll link at the end screen, about one of the reasons why I quit my corporate job at that time period. And it's going to be everything related to the social scene and the social side of your job. Because the reality, and this one's a very, very interesting one, because it talks a lot about trying to, when it comes to work, surrounding yourself with good people, with positive people, with people that are very, very supportive in your career, whether this happens to be surrounding yourself with good people at your actual job, but also good people outside of your job. Because the reality is that there was a say, and it's not just a say, but it's also something that I very much experienced myself on a personal heart-to-heart basis, that a lot of times, sometimes very, very difficult jobs can still be relatively manageable with the right people. And what I really mean by that is that think a little bit like when you're spending time with your loved ones, when you're spending time with someone that you just really thrive and you're just really clicking with a lot of times when you're in those particular situations, it's the act of spending time with people that you love and care about that makes things a lot more bearable and worth it than the actual activity that you actually do. There are some times that I want to catch up with a friend, but we don't even have an activity planned, or we don't even know what to do actually on a particular Sunday evening or something like that. But because I know it's just the act of spending time with a close one that makes things really, really good, happy, and enjoyable. And that's what this last point is, or not this last, but this third point is really about. Is really about trying to surround yourself with good people, because a lot of times, especially if you happen to work a job that's very client facing or that involves a lot of talking to different people, what's really, really awesome is a lot of times the people that you work with can really make or break the experience of what you will experience at your particular job. So if you work a very, very boring, common, monotonous job, but you're around a lot of good people that are very social, active, vibrant, and you really vibe with them, it can actually still be a really, really great and manageable thing, because you at least have people to relate to that you're spending time with now. And that's probably the third thing to really be able to share when it comes to how to physically do quiet thriving. And then the last point to really, really mention when it comes to quiet thriving is really about trying to find ways to upgrade or even improve your life, but even more specifically to change your current position at your particular job. So this one's a very, very interesting one, because the reality is that it's very, very probable that sometimes really the only thing that we really need to improve our work life is really just a change of pace. A lot of times if you've been doing the same thing over and over again for a very, very extended period of time, then it might be time to maybe consider changing your task. You don't necessarily have to leave your job completely, although that's definitely an option on the table as well. But you can even just change your position or change the roles within your particular job. There are many, many different jobs where you might be working with a lot of people with the same position. So for example, like being a personal assistant, there's a lot of people that you might be working at a company, and maybe you work in the administrative side and your company hires 10 different assistants, but the reality is that every single assistant, although they have the same position, they're in charge of a different area of the particular job or the company. Maybe one side is working with the marketing team, they're being an assistant to administration, the marketing team, the creative team, the UI, the tech team, the engineers, and all that stuff. But it's very, very possible as a personal assistant, because you're all working the same position at the end of the day, you can kind of rotate your roles. You don't always have to take the same roles. And a lot of times, instead of trying to focus on quiet quitting, what quiet thriving really does is it's all about trying to improve your current work life. And sometimes it's really all it takes is as much as just a conversation with your HR department, a conversation with your boss, your manager about what you like and what you don't like and what you wish to do more of, that's really all it takes sometimes to make your job a lot more bearable and a lot more fun and a lot more exciting. So with that being said, that's really the last point that I really wanted to share in today's video. So if you guys found that relatively insightful, remember to smash the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave a comment. Thank you guys so much. And with that being said, hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.